Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr. Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello, and welcome to the Success in Africa podcast episode 36. My name is Dr. Modupe Taylor Pierce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I have been studying this for 3 decades with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this podcast, I will share stories, lessons, and insights about people having success in Africa. Why this podcast? Because I am sick and tired of Africa being the poorest continent in the world. We are blessed with the greatest resource, young people. Africa will soon have the largest number of working age people in the world, and when these people achieve success, watch out. Africa's wealth will be unparalleled. Why? Because I don't know of too many Africans whose goal in life it is to die poor. See, success in life is simply the achievement of a predetermined goal. Whether that goal is owning a house and a car, or creating employment for 10,000 people, or transforming your community, this podcast has been created to help you to achieve it. So, if you are serious about achieving success in Africa, I want you to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video after you've watched it, please click the like button. This podcast is brought to you courtesy of BCA Leadership, the largest leadership enhancement company in Africa. If you have questions that you want me to answer after watching this video, just log on to BCA Online, the link is on the screen, and post your questions there. That is where I will respond to your questions. Today we're starting a new 4-part series on raising capital. Raising capital to fund your business venture or non-profit organization is one of the areas that most occupies the minds of current and would-be founders. I often get this question, Dr. Modupe, I need money to start my business. How do I get the money? Over the next 4 weeks, rather than give you a bunch of theories from textbooks and management books about how to raise capital, and frankly, some of these theories contradict each other, by the way, which makes it even more confusing for you, the entrepreneur. I am simply going to share with you the journeys of 4 different Africans who have successfully raised capital for their businesses or organizations in Africa. You can then glean from these stories the lessons that may most clearly resonate with you as you pursue your dream of success. The first person whose journey we will explore is a young man from Sierra Leone by the name of David Abdulai Kpakima. The first thing that strikes you when you meet David Kpakima is his boundless enthusiasm and dynamite smile. With this smile, he charms people around him and sometimes fools them into thinking that he is just a pretty face. However, beyond that boyish charm lies a sharp brain that is endlessly working to learn how things work and to leverage that knowledge to do big things, and also a relentless drive for growth and excellence that frankly sometimes puts him at odds with more senior colleagues. He was educated in Sierra Leone and in the USA and made a name for himself, working for top brands in Sierra Leone like Zain, Airtel, Standard Chartered Bank, Online, and Smart Mobile. And, with all of them, he helped them to leverage data and advanced analytics to drive their brand awareness and growth. Now, while creating value for these top brands, David's passion for connectivity and solving problems grew. As a Mandela Washington Fellow, he had been encouraged to not complain about things without doing something about them. He believed that connectivity in Sierra Leone could and should be faster, cheaper, more accessible, and more reliable. He believed that focusing on mobility solutions while leaving behind the sedentary connectivity problems was an incomplete strategy. He worked at the Sierra Leone Cable Limited, a government-owned optical fiber infrastructure company. This is after the other companies that he had worked at. And then at Zoodlabs, a technology and smart utility infrastructure company which supported the landing of the ACE internet cable into Sierra Leone. At Zoodlabs, David was able to build relationships with many influential people in the connectivity space, including the chairman of Zoodlabs. You see, David saw, while working at Zoodlabs, $1 billion opportunity for creating the physical fiber broadband infrastructure for high-speed fiber internet in Freetown, and he wrote a business plan for it under the name of a company called Metro Cable. In the business plan, he outlined what Metro Cable could do and how it would change the face of connectivity in Sierra Leone, starting with the capital city of Freetown. And the business plan, the capital requirement for Metro Cable was a whopping $30 million. When David shared his business plan for Metro Cable with the chairman of Zoodlabs, the chairman was impressed. You see, he said he had never been approached by a Sierra Leonean for money that was over $2 million. And most often, he gets approached for investments of $50,000 or less, which is frankly too small for him to waste his time with. Now, the business plan needed a lot more validation and fleshing out. However, based on David's strong performance as an employee, a senior employee at Zoodlabs, and due to the boldness of his business plan, the chairman gave him $100,000 to validate his assumptions and set up a minimum viable product for testing. Over the next 12 months, David did the research, including interviewing 20,000 homes. He built the supply chain, built and tested out this minimum viable product, including connecting the chairman himself to the fiber. With the chairman's support, David pitched the business plan also to USAID and was successful in getting USAID to invest in the company. And he also pitched it to 2 other investors successfully, Cross Boundary and the Shell Foundation. Metro Cable started in August 2021, putting the first cable on the ground. Today, Metro Cable is a groundbreaking company in Sierra Leone, providing fiber infrastructure to the capital city of Sierra Leone. David has already raised $13 million from institutional and private investors to cover Freetown with fiber, and he is intent on reducing the cost and increasing the speed of what he calls sedentary internet connectivity, which regular people like me call it Wi-Fi in the Western area. Metro Cable already has an installed capacity of over 250,000 homes and supports 16 internet service providers that are doing fiber and providing fiber-based internet service to thousands of end users. Now, David is quick to point out that getting the capital investment has not solved all of the challenges of Metro Cable. The company has had challenges in getting licenses, dealing with regulators, and also finding competent staff that can work at David's breakneck pace. Despite these challenges, David and Metro Cable have grown and positively impacted connectivity in Sierra Leone. Many companies, businesses, and homes now enjoy reliable and faster Wi-Fi connectivity because of the investment that was made by Metro Cable in creating a fiber ring across the capital city. An investment that was made possible because a young professional dared to dream, dared to put his dream on paper, and also dared to ask for what he needed. What can we learn from the journey of David Kpakima? I have gleaned 4 lessons that I think can be learned. Let me share them. Lesson number 1, ask for what you need. Ask for what you need. You see, despite the fact that David had never raised even $1 million before, he was not scared into lowering the amount of capital that the business needed to reach its full potential. You see, many times as entrepreneurs, we are intimidated by the size of the capital requirement for our business idea, and we water it down to a lower amount even before we've asked and received the pushback that we may anticipate. David asked for what the business needed, and frankly, it was the size of the ask that distinguished him from other people that had approached the chairman of Zoodlabs. Lesson number 2. Put your plan on paper and take the time to make it coherent and compelling. Imagine if David had just spoken verbally to the chairman of Zoodlabs and said, hey, chair, I need $30 million to build a fiber ring infrastructure. Can you let me have it? And then he didn't have a solid written document to back up this request. He would have been laughed out of the room and probably never invited back. By ensuring that he invested his time and talent into creating a business plan that included the important parts like description of the problem, the description of the solution, how the funds would be used, the return on investment, the risk, the opportunities, David was able to demonstrate a level of competence and forethought to his potential investor that made the investor believe that an investment into Metro Cable and by extension into David would yield an acceptable return. Again, lesson number 2. Put your plan in writing, make it compelling and complete. Lesson number 3, establish your competence and credibility through your track record. Imagine if David had never worked in the connectivity space and had presented this to the potential investor. Or, frankly, imagine if while David was working for Zoodlabs, he was a lazy or mediocre manager or employee. And then he tried to sell the chairman of the board on a new business. He might not even have been granted access to the chair. The chairman based his decision to invest in Metro Cable on David's demonstrated competence in the job that David was doing for Zoodlabs, in addition to, yes, the quality of the business plan. This is an important lesson to learn. You must ensure that whatever you are doing today, do it excellently. It is your badge of credibility, and it will influence potential investors who will know you. Which leads me to lesson number 4. You see, David first pitched his idea to somebody who knew him professionally. This is important. You see, if David had tried to take his idea immediately to USAID or to the Shell Foundation, he may not have been granted access. And even if he had been granted access, they may not have invested because he was not a known entity. By first securing the chairman of Zoodlabs, who knew him and could vouch for him, then he was able to have access to other investors by leveraging the chairman's relationships and his credibility. I hope you get it. Start with who know you professionally. So again, 4 lessons, okay? Number 1, ask for what you need. Number 2, put your plan on paper, make it coherent and compelling. Number 3, establish your credibility through a track record of excellence. And number 4, approach those who know you professionally first for investment. Now, you may have gleaned some other lessons to learn from David's story. If you have, please share them, okay, on BCA Online. We would love to get your feedback and learn from you as well. We've come to the end of our podcast today. I really hope you've learned something useful from today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening or watching. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Like this video, tell your friends about it, so that together we can transform our beloved continent of Africa. Next week, we will continue on this series where we will explore another successful African who has raised capital. See you next week.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.